Today, I'll demonstrate how you can use Transactional Email Tester to validate your transactional emails and email templates prior to making them live in your Magento store. Let's start by configuring the module for use in your store. I'll start by logging into the Magento admin and navigating to the configuration settings for the Transactional Email Tester. First, let's take a look at the extension section and make sure our module is installed correctly. Great! It looks like both Argon Digital Core and Argon Digital Transactional Email Tester are installed, so we are ready to go. Now we can configure the module for our testing. I'll select Transactional Email Tester from the left navigation panel. You can see the module has two items we can configure. We can use subject prefix to prefix all of our test emails with this value. The text we enter here will be added onto the beginning of our email subject, so we can easily distinguish test emails from real transactional emails. Similarly, if we set subject timestamp to yes, then the system will append a timestamp to our test email subject line. Now let's refresh our cache so those changes will take effect. Click on the Cache Management message link at the top. On the cache page, select the invalid rows, then select Refresh, then Submit. Now that we've configured the module, let's create our first test. We can add a new test by navigating to Marketing, Communications, then Transactional Email Tests. Or Argon Digital Transactional Email Tester, Transactional Email Tests. Once there, we create a new email test by clicking the Add New Test button. For our first test, let's pick an email that we're all familiar with, New Order. Now let's give our test a name. I'm going to name this one Argon Digital New Order Test. We can also add an optional description for this test. Now we need to select the new order email template for our test. I want to use a version of this template that we've customized, so I'll pick the Argon Digital New Order template. You can also select an out-of-the-box Magento template to use for the test. We need to select a usage area for this template so the system knows how to map the test data to the custom template fields. You'll see that the usage area typically corresponds to the email template name. In our case, we can set the usage area to New Order Confirmation Template. I'm going to send this one to myself and a colleague, so I'll enter the email separated by a comma. Now we can enter CC or BCC addresses in the same manner. We don't need to CC anyone for this test, so we'll leave those fields blank. We want this test to run on demand only, so we'll leave the scheduled testing button off. If we wanted to send this test email on a schedule, then we could turn on scheduled testing and choose an hourly, daily, weekly, or a monthly send schedule. Scheduling tests are important if you have key transactional emails for your store that change on a regular basis. You could set up a schedule to send that email to your marketing or QA teams each day so they can quickly confirm that nothing is broken in that email template. Before we move on to our test data set, we need to click Save and Continue Edit. Great! We've set up our first test, but now we need to configure the data that we want our new order email test to use. To do that, let's create a new data set. Let's name this data set Argon Digital New Order Dataset and set the test to active. Our demo store only has one store view, so you can leave the default store view selected. If you had multiple stores to choose from, you can select them via the dropdown. Next, we need to tell the dataset which order to use to populate the new order email. If you have existing orders in your Magento store, then you can click the Select button to bring up the list of sales orders. We'll choose one of the orders and click Add Selected. Now we can see our form is populated with our selected order number. Let's click Preview to see what our email looks like. Great! It looks like our email is populating with the selected order. Notice that below the email is a box that shows any of the unused template variables. This list includes variables in the body of the selected email template, as well as variables available in the header and footer of the email. The Argon Digital New Order template allows additional values for a customer note and a shipping message. Let's add values for these variables to our dataset. We can add them to the dataset by copying the variable name from the preview to the dataset. Let's copy the first one and add it to our dataset. Then give it a value. Then let's hit preview again and make sure our new value is there. Great, I see it here. Let's add the shipping message now. And we'll give it a value of must sign for package delivery. Let's preview the email with those changes. Now that looks good. Notice the shipping message is displayed here. Let's save this data set and we'll be ready to run our first test. Since we have everything set up, we just need to click Run Test and check my inbox. Now I'll switch over to my email account to look for our email. Perfect. Our email looks great. Another thing to make note of is that you can have multiple test data sets. For instance, we might create a new order email test that includes several data sets to cover all of our test cases. One data set can have an order with only simple products. Another data set might validate all orders with configurable or downloadable products. You can also use data sets to validate the display of each shipping method selected on an order. The important thing to remember is that you can create a single test for an email template, but test all of the possible scenarios by creating multiple data sets. Now, what happens if we don't get our email? In that case, we should check the logs to see if the email was sent. Let's go take a peek at the logs now. Notice that we can filter the logs by status. So if we have a long list of test emails, we can filter the list down to find any issues. This is a great place to verify that your scheduled emails were sent out as expected as well. Let's go back to the transactional email tester and create one more test. This time, we want to create a test email for the new order for guest template. Instead of creating this one from scratch, we can duplicate our first test. If we scroll down the list, we can see the new test is called Argon Digital New Order Duplicated. Let's edit this one and modify the name to Argon Digital New Order for Guest. We'll need to modify the template and usage area to New Order for Guest, but everything else can stay the same. Once we've added these changes, we can save. Since we've selected a new email template above, we'll need to create another data set. I'll create a simple data set and select an order to use in the email. Now we'll hit save and run this new test. Let's go check out that email and verify that everything looks good. Great, this one looks good too. Now let's switch over to the email template editor and make some changes to our template. Let's edit the same email template, the Argon Digital New Order. We'll make a small change to the template and change the wording on the opening paragraph. You can see that below the template are any tests already associated with this template. We can also create a new test by clicking here. I like to right-click and open these links in a new tab. This way I can flip back and forth, editing the template and then previewing the email with the transactional email tester. And that's all there is to it for the transactional email tester. If you still have questions, please reach out to us. We'd love to help. You can find our contact info in the Magento Marketplace. Thanks for watching.